Welcome, sadhakas. We are learning to be intimate with Vedic mathematics foundation. The first feature of foundation of Vedic mathematics is the sthapatya of Chatushpit. Chatushpit is sthapatya. Chatushpit is a word formulation. Chatushpit as sthapatya is a creator's space manifesting parallel with the features of idol of Lord Brahma, creator of the space. The knowledge about Chatushpit is that it as a formulation and it as sthapatya are two distinct values and features. However, both deserve to be glimpsed and imbibed simultaneously to be parallel with the foundation of Vedic mathematics. The formulation as a composition of letters, the placement values and features of placements of individual letters deserve to be imbibed fully. The manifestation and transcendence within Chatushpit domain is another phase of learning about Chatushpit. The strip off at the boundary and structuring of the space outside Chatushpit domain is yet another phase of learning. In this session, we are focusing upon the individual letters of the formulation Chatushpit. The formulation Chatushpit is availing three vowels. First consonant A, the second consonant in its elongated form is E, and the third vowel U. The first vowel is of dual frequency. As such, the formulation Chatushpit is availing 4 letters, but only 3 distinct letters. There are 3 Varga consonants of the first column, Cha, Ta, and Pa, and 1 letter of the second column, Ta. So there are 4 Varga consonants in the formulation Chatushpit. The 9th letter is Ushmana, it is Shakkar. Therefore, sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of virtue to be parallel with the values and features of formulation Chatushpit shall distinctively imbibe the placement values of these 9 letters, of which only 8 are distinct. The 8 distinct letters set up as 9 letters composition is one feature which deserves to be imbibed. 8 distinct letters bring us face to face with Chatushpit as of transcendental code value 30, parallel with 4 folds of hypercube 8, the representative regular body of its space. And 9 letters setup brings us face to face with 9 space as origin of hypercube 8, and the origin is of dual status as a member of the domain and also as origin. So it is the dual status which brings us face to face with the first vowel in its dual frequency occurrence in this composition. The formulation Chatushpit as consonants set up 5 consonants, cha, ta, sha, pa, and tha. As of transcendental code value 66712 of summation value 22 is parallel with 4 folds of hypercube 6. Swarit, when the vowels stand dispensed with, then Swarit formulation takes us to transcendental code value 20, which is parallel with formulation Ved. One shall have a pause here and permit the transcending mind to imbibe this unique feature of the formulation Chatushpit, which has Swarit, which as 20 Ved. So when the vowels of this formulation stand dispensed with, and when we are only with the consonants of this formulation, which lead to transcendental code value 22, parallel with summation value of 4 folds of hypercube 6, it brings us face to face with a really very, very blissful state. Ved as of transcendental code value 20 and Chatushpit dispensed with vowels only as consonants is taking us to value 22, 20 as dimension and 22 as domain. It is really a very, very blissful phase and stage of learning about the formulation Chatushpit, which only as consonants leads to 6 space and its vowels, when dispensed with as Swarit, it takes to 20. How the Swarit means Nad as 17 as dimension takes to 20 as an origin, as Ved, which as dimension takes us to hypercube 6, a representative regular body of a 6 space. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with it. Now, Vyanjit, when the formulation Vyanjit takes us to transcendental code value 25, parallel with Vishnu. So Vyanjit means when consonants are dispensed with, we are in the domain of a Vishnu. The vowels together are of TC value 9. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the mind to be parallel with this feature. Chatushpit as Swarit, Chatushpit as Vyanjit, Chatushpit as word formulation of vowels and consonants of transcendental code value 30, parallel with 4 folds of hypercube 8. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with it. Now, let us concentrate upon the individual letters. There are 9 letters. The formulation Chatushpit is a composition of 9 letters. First is Ja. It is the first letter of the second row of the Varga consonants. It is of transcendental code value 2, and it is of a spatial order. Means 2 space is playing the role of dimension. The second letter is O, the first vowel. It is 1 space as a dimensional frame. So dimensional frame of 1 space is a setup of a single axis, but of -1 space. -1 space plays the role of dimension of 1 space, and it is single dimension setup constituting a dimensional frame of one space. The third letter is Tau, the first letter of the fourth row of the Varga consonants. It is creative order, four space in the role of dimension. The fourth letter is the third vowel. It is three space dimensional frame, means a setup of three linear axes. The fifth letter is the Ushmana Shakar of TC value 6. It is a self-referral transcendence. 6 space as dimension transcending from this origin and getting superimposed upon the order of the domain. It is the phase and stage which simultaneously brings to focus 5 space in the role of dimension of the domain. So 6 space as dimension of the origin transcends from origins and gets superimposed upon 5 space as transcendental order of the domain. The 4 space as the 7th letter is the spatial order synthesis. 2 space is the spatial order synthesis of a pair of spatial order dimensions. It is the feature, it is the value which deserves to be comprehended cautiously, conscientiously. The spatial dimensions pair 2 spatial dimensions synthesizing together as pair of faces of a surface in 3 space. In this sequence, the 8th letter is to be taken. But before that, let us have a distinct comprehension, a distinctive comprehension of the spatial order and linear order. 2 space in the role of dimension makes a spatial order. 1 space in the role of dimension makes a linear order. Now 2 spaces dimension creates hypercube 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 of summation value 14. 1 space's dimension creates 1, 2, 3, 4, hypercube 4. Now, when we are having -1 space in the role of dimension of 1 space, then it would mean reversal of an orientation. So 2, 3, 4, 5 created by letter Cha as spatial order, in its reverse orientation will take us to 5, 4, 3, 2. Now the orientation 2, 3, 4, 5 as a step ahead will take to value 6. However, the reverse orientation 5, 4, 3, 2 will take us ahead to value 1. So the transcendence of the spatial order 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is of value 20. And the reversal orientation 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is taking to value 15. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the mind to be parallel with this setup, these features of the first syllable Cha, Cha and are together, taking us to the organization format to value 15 because of the reversal of orientation with -1 space as dimension of 1 space. And this takes us to value 15, which is parallel with the dimensional frame of a solid order. One shall sit comfortably and in continuity proceed ahead, that letter tau of value 4 is a creative order, 4 space in the role of a dimension, and 4 space as dimension creates hypercube 6 of 4 folds 5, 6, 7 of summation value 22 of hypercube 6. And the third vowel as 3 space is of dimensional frame of 3 linear dimensions. The third dimension it takes upward as of value +1 in its reverse orientation will take us to value -1. So 5, 6, 7 take us to value 8, while 7, 6, 5, 4 take us to value 3. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the mind to be parallel with this reach from first syllable cha to the second syllable tu of the formulation Chatushpit. One shall sit comfortably and in continuity to proceed ahead to glimpse as to how 7654 takes ahead to value 3, making summation value 25. And in the reversal, 25 plus 25 is 50. And value 25 as the first triple digit number of 5-place value system within the grid 4x6. These are the features which will take us to value 50, parallel with 50 coordinates fixation of the transcendental domain. It is really a very blissful state. One shall learn to reach it. One shall be parallel with it. One shall sequentially chase the formulation Chatushpit letter-wise, syllable-wise, placement value-wise, and their dimensional sthapatya role-wise. All these features, when will take us ahead to letter Sha, the Ushmana letter of transcendental code value 6, it will be a self-referral transcendence from origin to get superimposed upon the transcendental order of the domain. Let us sit comfortably. Let us begin afresh with the synthesis of a pair of spatial dimensions, a surface with a pair of faces. When the pair of faces stands segregated, then the space in between the pair of spaces, as is depicted in the topmost portion of the figure on the computer screen, then it will be Sha, spatial transcendence in the space between the pair of faces. This will transit and transform into letter Sa, the solid transcendence. And then along the diagonal, it will create a phase and state where the creative order in its both orientations will be lively marking its presence. This happening within the pair of faces of a surface in 3 space is the phenomenon which deserves to be comprehended well. One is to be parallel with it, and only by being parallel with it, one will be parallel with the happening within Surya Rashmi, Chatushpit. The Chatushpit within each ray of the sun is responsible for the transcendence phenomenon, which sequentially happens to be of spatial transcendence, solid transcendence, and creative transcendence. Once one will be parallel with it, one will be blissfully parallel with the transcendental order, 5 space in the role of a dimension. The first letter of the 5th row, Pa, of transcendental code value 5, a placement transcendental order. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with the script form of letter Pa, and see how this script form is the base of a solid order, and it will help us appreciate how the space between the pair of faces of a surface within 3 space is in fact permitting solids, cubes, to mark their presence. It is the manifestation of the cube within the space of the pair of faces of a surface within 3 space, which is the transcendental phenomenon happening within each ray of the sun. It is this happening which is designated as of a solid order, so of a transcendental phase. And as at the origin of 3 space is a 4 space seat, as 4 space is playing the role of origin of a 3 space, so the manifestation of a solid in this space in between the pair of faces of a surface in 3 space, which will bring us face to face with the happening of the creators of space, which will permit synthesis and split for solids. And so it will take us to letter Ta, the second letter of the 3rd row, in the role of a boundary. It is this happening which deserves to be comprehended well. And once we will be parallel with this synthesis and split phenomenon happening within the space between the pair of faces of a surface in 3 space, we will be parallel with the happening within the rays of the sun. It is this phenomenon, it is this feature which will take us to creative boundary, and which again in and along the -1 space as single axis dimensional frame of 1 space, and hence the cyclic order. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the mind to be with this cyclic order happening as per the sequential values and features of individual letters of the formulation Chatushpit. It would amount to the split of the transcendental domain. It is the outer crust which was split as the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere of value 17 and 19, and value 18, the inner fold of the transcendental domain lively, and hence the cyclic 17, 18, 19, and 20. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with it as to how the Nag Kechuli, the outer surface layer of the snake body, is getting segregated, and the life of the death being lively as a phenomenon. So death of a life and life of the death are the pair of phenomena which are happening because of this transcendental origin of the Chatushpit. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with this happening, and as within 4 space, 3 space bodies acquire additional 4th dimension, a degree of freedom of motion, which manifests as 13th edge for 12 cube, and same gets coordinated with the solid order transcendental origin of force space. It is this happening which brings in the full unit bodies and half unit bodies, and the transcendental origin permits transcendence to its origin, 6 space as an origin, as of value of full unit hypercube 5 and half unit hypercube 5 bodies. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with this happening. And once we are with this happening, then we will be appreciating as to how the Naga Kechuli, the outer skin fold of the snake, gets segregated. It is this phenomenon, it is this feature which is to be comprehended, to be parallel with the transcendental features of the existence phenomenon along the Chatushpit within Surya Rashmi. Once we will be parallel with it, then we will be parallel with the Vedic mathematics, Vedic sciences, and Vedic technologies. Chatushpit is of transcendental code value 30, parallel with summation value of 4 folds of hypercube 8. And the dynamic state is leading to Chatushpit of TC value 43, which accepts an organization 13, 15, 15. And this is there as that within creators of space, within 4 space, 5 space body splits into a pair of 5 space bodies, and hence minus 13 leads to minus 15 and minus 15. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with this reversal of orientation phenomenon as to how 0, 1 is 1, 0, 2 and 5, 3 and 6, 4 and 7, all are making reflection pairs. It is this reflection pairing happening within rays of the sun along the Chatushpit is the feature with which we have to be parallel. Let us be parallel with these features of Chatushpit as a formulation. And once we will be parallel with these features, once we will be intimate with the formulation Chatushpit, then we will be preparing ourselves for glimpsing this happening within 4 space, within Chatushpit, which sequentially takes us to sequential phases of transcendence at the transcendental origin. Thank you very much.